Last night I had real financial anxiety, not because I couldn't afford something, but because I could. And somehow that made it worse. So I started this channel to share what happens after you reach financial independence, retire early, because that's what I wanted to see, not the how to get there, but what it's actually like living it. And I've been learning that financial independence doesn't automatically mean emotional independence from money. I'm learning now that the biggest challenge isn't the math, it's the psychology. And that psychological cost hit me like a train last night. So let's start with the logistics, the numbers that are supposed to keep me calm. So next year is going to be my first year with zero income. The 4% rule says that I can spend about $40,000 for the year. And honestly, I feel like I can live pretty comfortably on that. It's safe, it's calculated, it's the whole point of FI. That includes my core expenses and then up to $15,000 on lifestyle and travel. But for next year, I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to finally use the time that FI bought me. So I planned three incredible extended trips. I even made a video about them. My budget to take these trips, well, that meant withdrawing a bit more. So almost $10,000 more to go on a 40-day cruise. So I did think about not going or saving it for another year, which is a financially responsible thing to do. But the timing just, I wanted to go next year and I thought hard about it, but um, there were some other things that came into play, like learning kind of what do I want to say? Learning more about the withdrawal rates and dying with zero has kind of was the impetus for feeling comfortable spending just a little bit more. Anyway, it was a planned splurge and I was getting to be okay with it because it felt optional. You know, if I changed my mind, I could still do that. I haven't even booked the cruise. But then a bomb dropped. A family member overseas had a sudden financial need. It's for their basic security, so food, shelter. In my mind, this was always a possibility, but one I couldn't budget for because my family, like many families, doesn't like to talk about money. So I just kind of put it out of my mind. And now here we are. So I know from my American friends, this can be hard to understand, but for many immigrants who quote unquote make it here in America, there's kind of an open secret that the expectation is you'll help others back home. So suddenly I wasn't just looking at a one time splurge anymore with my trip. I'm now looking at a potential ongoing annual expense that is at this point 15% of my original FI budget, which is a lot. I mean, the margins aren't really there. And that's where my old survival mechanism kicked in, that scarcity mindset. So that mental shift, the one that makes you financially independent in the first place, it's powerful, but it's also very sticky. I immediately defaulted to how I lived before FI. Like frugality is my defense mechanism. It got me to where I am now. So it's a proven method. So I started last night just trying to figure out if I can live smaller. I started trying to cut my own budget. Like maybe I don't need to take these three vacations that I worked 9 years to be able to take. Maybe I can just take one. Maybe it can be shorter. Maybe I can spend less on food. Maybe I should just eat less. So that's what my mind was doing last night in response to this, potential family obligation. So it all started to make me feel really small. Like I felt small, my circumstances felt small, even my nest egg felt small. Like no matter how much money I had, it would just never be enough. So that's what I wanted to share because isn't that something? It was unexpected. I hit the number and yet there I was, supposedly financially free, but I was freaking out that I would never have enough. The vacations felt optional. Like I said, I could always cut those, but knowing that someone else's basic needs, their food and shelter, might be depending on my next withdrawal, that just hit a lot differently and in a way I wasn't expecting. So, for the first time since hitting my FI number, I felt palpitating money anxiety. My brain was trying to misfire. It just wanted to default to a life of ultra frugality. Its immediate solution was to postpone my own fund to live small until this family obligation was met, which wasn't a one time thing. This would be over the next 10 years or so. And that's just how my scarcity brain works. Just meet the need and then have fun. It's always do this first and then the next thing. And so suddenly meeting my needs was no longer the priority, meeting their needs was the priority. But after a couple of hours, so like a solid couple of hours digging into my spreadsheets, really moving numbers around, and I'll try to show that, just recreate it if I can. Looking at the actual logistics and running the numbers again, I realized something important. Like always, the math says I'm probably going to be fine. The thing to remember with FI and just portfolios, it's like it's dynamic. Like it can move with you. And it's not like if I lost all my money overnight, I couldn't just tell them I don't have any money to send. But somehow that rationale just escapes you when you're in the middle of just like an anxious, acute state. So it's not that I don't want to help. It's just that sending money across an ocean just feels different than spending it on a flight. You know, when I book travel, I'm trading money for an experience, something that brings me joy. And when I send money, I'm trading it for someone else's survival. Both are valid, both are human. They're just two different experiences. So the problem is I'm fighting against a learned habit of saying no, or at least part of the problem is fighting against the habit of saying no to optional spending and finally freeing myself from obligations. It's hard to change from the person who hoarded money to the person who now uses it, even if it's to benefit someone else. It's hard to go from, I will say, yeah, it's hard to go from tasting that little bit of freedom. I mean, I've been retired for about 6 months now. Freedom from duty, freedom from obligation, and someone else having the reins on your decision making to letting even a little bit of that back in. So I think that's what I was resistant to the most. So yeah, sure, you can say like it's my choice to help out my family, but is it? So if you've ever wrestled with any of these feelings, just know you're not alone because financial freedom is easy on paper. It's the emotions that take real work. I'm just going to recreate a little bit of what I was feeling last night. All right, so I was looking at, so this is my default fire budget. I've shown this many times. It's supposed to be 40K. I use the retirement calculator. If I want to die with zero, I can go up to 70, 75. But that's literally, I just found that out a couple months ago. But for the 9 years, I've been working on this, on the 4% rule. And I went ahead and added this last night. But last night I was here like, my monthly allowance covers basically everything else that's not a recurring bill, anything I need in my day to day life. So, groceries, going out, restaurants, gas, anything like that, if I needed copay or anything like that. So, I'm thinking, when I look at my expenses, I don't really, it used to be 400 before I moved just because I wasn't going out that much. And so I looked at that, like maybe I can reduce this down to 21. I think I had it down to 350. And because I got this number down to 22 last night, and I was like, oh, if I do that, I even adjusted this because this used to be 5. So that put me at 61. But that seemed, I was like, now it's over 60. So this is what I need to send to my family so they can have food and shelter. Um, this is what I was planning to spend on travel. But again, I haven't even booked like the major things. This is still essentially in theory, but this doesn't feel theoretical anymore. This is a reality. This is what I'm already sending. I just wasn't sure I needed to continue to send it. But after multiple people have reached out, the answer is yes. So yeah, this is where I was last night. Okay, so I think it was 448. And that got me down to the 22. So then I would have 22 here. And then that would mean I only really needed to withdraw an additional 3. Um, so basically, I could take the 3 from here and put it here. So I only had to up my budget by 3,000. And then the other thing I was looking, I was like, travel is a lot. Like, what if I really wanted to make this 40? So this would be the 6. Let's just do this now. Let's do equal sum. I want you to get the full experience of all the feelings. So trying to keep that 40. And then I was just like, yeah, well, then I could just make this the 11, which is already less. And then travel and lifestyle would just be one whole thing. So with 11, I was like, I mean, so I looked over at this is my potential expenses for next year. Sorry, this wasn't ready. What am I doing? So I was like, well, I mean, the biggest trip is this one. And I was so proud of myself because it started off so high. It was even higher than this. And what I do is I periodically will just write out the big tickets and then think of ways to lower it. So this was already the big ticket. So I was like, okay, well, that will be eliminated because I can't afford it. But maybe I could take one of these since, with this, I might have like $11,000 to spend. And this would just be, but buffered into that. So let's say we make this, I'll just even make it three and then make this eight. Um, and so let's say travel is eight. I could potentially take, well, not even both of these trips. But I was like, okay, so if I wanted to just take, I could just take the package and I don't need to upgrade to business class, or I don't need to stay an extra week, and that would reduce some costs. Or for this one, this is a trip I've been looking forward to for years. And the same thing, I was like, well, I don't need to go to Quebec. Like I can just, this is already a really pricey trip. So I think at the end, I was like, I guess I can just go to Croatia next year and just do like the 800. Actually, this is, yeah, the 800 plus the 1400, which is 2200, and then just be satisfied with that. But yeah, because this would be 35. What is that? 35 plus basically 3,000, 6,000. Yeah, that's kind of where I was settled. But I changed my mind. I mean, after a while, I was just like, no, like I worked really hard to get here, and I'm not sacrificing the things I worked hard for this. So that's kind of where I'm at.